It is Sunday. It's our 101st episode, and it's the week our Discord kind of exploded on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
So we're going to start chatting, and I've conveniently placed you in the right corner.
Yes, I noticed.
Because who is your ham radio moment of the week?
I think I went to Edinburgh and I met up with Charlotte, which we've had on as a guest a few times before. And wow, there she is.
Let's see if I can actually. You need to be close to each other, I think.
Yeah. So we found out that we needed a bit of a scandal to improve the viewership count here, and Charlotte said she was okay with that. We've been close for quite a while, so that's very nice, and so nice to meet people in this hobby. And I think it was a nice weekend.
Yeah. And did you do any
radio
radio at all while you were in Scotland?
Yes, somebody decided to break the HF radio things. So tried 2 times for Parks on the Air, 0 HF QSOs, totally useless. Also met the Tobias 2 Mike 0 Tango Foxtrot, I believe it is, over there. So that was really nice. So all in all, it was a really nice weekend over in Edinburgh, and got to see some sights as well, even though yesterday was mostly rainy.
Well, you went to Scotland.
Yes.
Honestly, what did you expect?
I come from a place where it rains more than Scotland, so yes, I expected sun. And also had some other nice radio moments of the week, some Parks on the Air and a SOTA activation that was really quite good, actually. So all in all, it's been a nice radio week as well.
Yep, that doesn't sound too bad at all. Let's move on. You can't be on for the entire show, Charlotte, but I got to ask you, though, what's your ham radio moment of the week?
I think I'd get into trouble if I said anything else other than meeting Hjetel. So,
but yeah, actually, I came back from. I've been to Croatia all week, and I came back from either the beach or dinner or something important you do when you're on a work trip.
Yeah.
And I kind of
I
mean I posted something from my activation on Discord. I was just going to check if there was any replies to that, and Discord just exploded.
Yeah, guilty. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it was fun though. Now I got to scroll back really far to actually find my pictures for my ham radio moment of the week.
And also, I must say that the people in Discord, everybody there, has been really nice and kind, and so that's been very nice. And let's leave it at that. But
we'll leave it at that. And our Discord is hamshow.eu/Discord.
Yeah,
let's just leave it at that.
Where all the fun stuff happens.
Yep, absolutely. Jürgen? I've been hearing Austrians all week, and then it's Sunday. I come home and meet another Austrian here because Lošinj in Croatia is obviously a popular destination for Austrians.
It is, yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's a nice place. I know it, and I hope you enjoyed your stay there.
Oh, I did, even though radio conditions were bad. We're going to get back to that later on.
Yeah, that's true. But should I talk about my ham radio moment?
Yeah,
or?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Yeah, I had 2 of them, or let's say 3. On Friday, I did a review on Paul's magnetic loop, Oscar Mike 0 Echo Tango's MCA 20 loop. I did it in German. I was in a park. I planned to do a QSO, and there was nothing, as you mentioned before. Absolutely nothing. So I did the video, and that was it. But yesterday, boys and girls, folks, yesterday afternoon, I had a huge opening on 10 meters to all over Europe. And Charlotte, where have you been yesterday? I had such a great sporadic opening to England. That was amazing.
Oh, no way. Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
That was fantastic. And today I was out making a video about this big boy here.
I am sorry. I'm terribly sorry.
This is a Radio Oddity HF008 mobile antenna. It's like the Outbacker.
Yep.
And you have these tabs here, and you have hook up a cable between these tabs for, I think that's 40 meters, 30 meters, what is it here, 20, 17, 15, and so on, up to 6 meters. It works great. At least
What?
I measured the SWR. I did one QSO, and yeah, it was working.
Oh, I was not.
able to get that to work.
I
Really?
was not expecting that conclusion because I've tried the MFJ antenna, which is similar to that, and that thing it's just bad.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
let's see. I managed to do one QSO before I had to go home. Okay, 80 meters is first of all very narrow band, and with my magnetic mount I had attached to it, yeah, I had a very bad SWR at around 5 to 50 to 1 or 1 to 5. Yeah, but 40 was working, and every other band was working well. Let's say, at least the SWR was good. So I will test this baby in the next weeks.
Awesome. But if that antenna actually works, that is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we will see.
I was totally expecting a different conclusion when you pulled out that antenna.
Yeah,
no.
but you also mentioned like that the JPC 12 was hard to tune. So
Oh, I did 3 videos on the JPC 12, but and they're actually more popular than the buddy stick antenna, where I end up selling the buddy stick at the end of the video.
The only strange thing I found out was on 17 meters. They recommend to use the long whip, but in fact, it is the short whip you have to use. But overall, yeah, I mean, it's a radiating dummy load, let's say. But
Yeah.
I will find out in the next weeks.
But radiating dummy loads actually they work.
Yep.
So let's see here. I see that it's mentioned in the chat that SAQ Grimeton will transmit on CW on July 2nd, and it's the 100th anniversary year there. I was there for the 100th anniversary of the first transmission from that site. It's an awesome place, just south of Gothenburg in Sweden. If anyone want to stop by and take a look this summer.
yeah, it's such an epic place for radio.
Yeah. And I think I talked about Steve, at least I remember talking about Steve, Mike 1 Sierra Delta Hotel, about it, that we're going to try to stop there on our way home from Bornholm and just take a look. The 17-kilometer band is an awesome band. It does need a lot of antenna. It's a 70 kilometer span, yeah.
Right,
If you need an antenna for it,
you need a huge coil for that.
maybe I can throw it 17 kilometers.
Yeah. Let's move on. William, you're here because of our topic today. We're going to talk about how to get started in digimodes, and I think we're going to keep a little bit superficial about what digimodes are and how they work. But what's your ham radio moment of the week?
Well, first off, last week when we were chatting, we're using the Raspberry Pi 5. I've been given a new computer which has 8 DDR3 RAM things to put in. So I put on FLDG, WSJT and things like that, and spent most of the day tearing my hair out, wondering why this won't work. And what it is, I'll get it out. Come here, you. It wasn't putting too much, so it was like, yeah, I'm tearing my hair out, and it's just that. You just need a little tiny bit of a push in. And so I spent most of my week going, why the hell is this not working? And that's why.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, now to try and get this back in. There we go. Where's the other one?
Or just plug in an antenna into port 2 and don't figure out why there's no signal on radio.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here's the other one. Because this computer's got input, output, with audio on that, I just plug it straight in. I wonder where that was. I'm so organised, but yeah, just getting all that sort of. Also changed around my antenna a bit. Got hold on, wire. This type of wire that's flexible, but it's also coated. Quite good. If you saw Salty Walt's K4OGO is vertical antenna, he used this. I've had this for years. You know, he used it on his last video.
That's a
on the
speaker wire type thing, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Walt is Monster Cable's biggest customer.
Yeah, I think he's got an account somewhere with them. Yeah. Oh, you're back, yeah. Just take it, you know, we'll bill you later.
But what kind of antenna did you just replace your wires, or did you build a new antenna?
It's a 9-to-1 long wire antenna, but instead of it being 30 meters, I put it out at like 15 and then another counterpoise and just put it up as that, you know, because I was using very thin green wire, which works so well, but you know, this one is a bit more thicker, so we should be able to get a bit more. And I just put it out, stuck a couple of isolators on the end and went, yeah, that will do. So it's bent round the garden. Evening, Tim. And that's it. You know, it seems to work quite well. The SW wire is about the same. Everything's all good. Just change of wire, basically.
Yep.
Then the thunderstorm happened, and I couldn't go on the radio as much. Typical.
But the way the bands have been, it's really not that bad timing, though.
Yeah, I was doing Feldhell at the time, and when this thunderstorm came through, I'm like, you have to turn off. Such is life.
Yeah, but that's good, and you're here, so looking forward to hearing your inputs on doing digimodes and how to get started. Let's see, Bob. You've been playing around with a Motorola this week.
I have. Let's see. I have pictures as usual. See if I can manage to find them. And yeah. I'm going to start a little bit before the Motorola, because you kept complaining about the heat at 5 Alpha. And I have to say, I was at 5 Bravo about 2 years ago, and that's Cyprus. And we were longing for getting down into the 30. 30 Celsius,
I was at 9 Alpha, though, not 5 Alpha.
It was 9 Alpha. All right.
9 Alpha, yep.
Well, there was a number and a letter early in the alphabet that was registered in my mind. Yeah. So I just wanted to take that picture because it was probably around 35 Celsius when I took that picture, and the bands were horrible. I did manage to activate the park, but I think it took an hour and a half on FT8. So that's saying something. But gorgeous view. I think this is my favorite only hams picture.
That is ham sexy. That is so ham sexy.
There's a very photogenic. I think the word is radio as well. I think it's probably the most beautiful radio ever made. So.
And we can all say that it's the inside that counts. But seriously, look at that picture. Yeah.
That is true, and the inside only has Yaesu menus in it, so that's not beautiful at all. Let's continue on. I'll put this in chronological order. I see, because I was a victim of the horrible bank conditions as well. But what I did, I went for a drive. So I put the hamstick on for 20 meters on top of the car, and went for a drive with my QDX, which is about 4 watts. And in a moving vehicle, that's sort of difficult and was pretty much impossible to get anything. I drove around for an hour and a half, and I got a Japanese station on FT8.
FT8 mobile, nonetheless.
FT8 mobile in motion. I was driving around and getting this, and not only did I get one, I got another one on the way back. So
just a question. You had auto reply on, I hope, while you were driving and doing FT8.
According to Norwegian law, I had auto reply on when I was driving. Yes. So,
but did you how did you adjust for Doppler shift and so on? since you were driving.
I tried to explain that. As long as you're driving at a constant speed relative to whoever you're communicating with, the Doppler shift, it's not an issue. It's only going to shift you slightly up and down by some microhertz or something. So with the speed of my car. So
yeah. So if you were in a roundabout, you'd just be going around until you got the Q-suit on.
Unless the other part of the conversation is also in a roundabout, then it's impossible to go at a constant speed relative to the other one in a roundabout. So we have to agree to enter a roundabout at the same time if that would exist.
Try this at the Magic Roundabout in England.
Yeah, that would make it impossible, I think.
I just got to shoot in because you talked about Doppler shift, and sorry for the tangent, but I just got to say this. The most exciting thing about the activation I did on, and we'll get back to the activation on Friday, was that when I was riding a bike downhill, I could hear the sound of the crickets chirping with the Doppler shift effect. And that's something
scary.
That is something just a ham would notice. Sorry, Bob. I just had to say that.
No. I'm not really in a position to complain of tangents. So, that led up to the end of the week where I got another package from China from AliExpress, and this is the Motorola B6, I think it's called. Morten, it's about a month ago that you did the cheap or inexpensive radio.
I think so. The B-Tonera I did. And I'm really small here, but I hope you can see the B-Tonera. It's a small radio as well. So.
Yeah, and you said that was about $12, and I took that as a challenge. Can I find anything even cheaper? And this one is $10. Actually, it's a little bit less than $10 because you have to buy two, and that's slightly below $20. So I just wanted to see if that could be used for anything, and it turns out it actually does a good job with the APRS. All you need, in addition to the $10 radio, is a $150 mobile linked and a $700 iPhone, and you can do APRS. So it's practically a steal. But that was fun. I had fun making the video, and I had fun doing it. And I'm gonna have some more fun with that radio because it's really a PMR or FRS or GMRS type radio, and I'm quite convinced you can do cool digital things within these allocations as well. So I'm gonna play around with that. I think.
I think someone on the show has already done WinLink on PMR 446.
Did you actually manage, or did you just attempt it?
No, it worked. I had it over in the car, and I had remote control on it, so that it was a non-automated station. So I was actually controlling it, and that worked. I think there were some rather confused kids in the neighborhood. It worked, and it actually worked too well because I didn't use it. I used it only with Vox, and I used it with 4 radios, one for transmit and one for receive. So I used 2 channels for this.
So this was actually full duplex.
Yes. So it was rather. It was not efficient, but it was a fun experiment, and with the correct cable. If I bothered to just cut some cables, it would be very simple. And I have a feeling we'll get into cutting cables and so on later in this show, ideas on how to make sound cards. So with a simple sound interface, you could probably do that as well. But there are some legalities and such about it, which you have to check in your country. It varies from country to country.
Yep. That is true. I'm not going to comment on anything except.
And we've stated this a lot of times. We do not give legal advice on the European Ham Radio Show. Everything you do is at your own risk.
So basically, you're saying what we give is illegal advice, then?
I'm saying that we might do things that might not be legal in your country or region.
Or even our country.
Yeah, exactly.
I have one final thing to show before I hand it off to you, Morten. I'll just begin myself. And this is just a hint of things to come. I've been playing around with some mechanical parts. So this is a continuation of a project I started probably close to 2 years ago. So I'm just teasing I think
I know what that is.
Yeah, I think you do. So looking forward to doing some more work on that. That's yep. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Morten, tell us about your excursion to 9 Alpha.
Yeah, I went to 9 Alpha, or Croatia, it's called to the common people, but we Hams like to be a little bit special. I went there for work because I work in the travel industry. So I went there to check out a whole range of hotels and resorts, and everything from ordinary places to really luxurious places at 20,000 euros per night. I always want to try to fit in some ham radio when I'm on these kind of trips. Usually I bring a radio and I don't have any times, but this time I had Friday off. Turned out that I didn't have all of Friday off, but I had a couple of hours on Friday off. And then I had a couple of meetings on the afternoon. So I went out at the Island of Lošinj in Croatia, and I'm just going to share my screen here. Rented a bike at the hotel. It was about 30 degrees there, but not any humidity at all. So it was a pretty bearable heat. Rode my bike for about 6 kilometers and ended up here. This is just so stunningly beautiful. With the Adriatic Sea and the clear water and everything, and everyone walking. This is a hiking trail and a biking trail, so had a lot of passerbys. No one stopped and asked what I was doing, but I got a lot of stares though. And it actually started before breakfast when I just scrolled through Facebook and saw someone complain about the band conditions. But nonetheless, though, I had a couple of hours free and went ahead. I just gotta check. No, my radio is not PTTing. I can see on my Flex radio that somehow it picks up my voice there. Nonetheless, though, I set up my radio. Got on 40, heard one station. Got on 20, heard none. Got on 15, heard none. Got on 10, heard none. Bands were completely dead. I had my antenna strapped to the handlebar of the bike and up on the little dude mast there. It was really beautiful. It was really hot. Called for 40 minutes. Got one Polish station. And he was about a 5'2", so not really strong at all. Called a couple of times on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. That did not help at all. No one there. So I did what every reasonable person would do when in a hot country with a beautiful beaches and beautiful clear blue water. I went to the beach before my meeting. That was a lot better. That was a lot more successful. But nonetheless, though, going. Let's see if I can stop my screen here. Going to Croatia and bringing my radio is without any doubt my ham radio moment of the week, though.
Did you meet the grumpy guy on the airport that doesn't like radios in?
Oh, but both ways.
Yes.
I have never had my luggage searched so thoroughly when flying out of Oslo airport this time. I'm used to my bag turning up in the so-called random check.
Yes.
But this random check involved unpacking my entire carry-on kit, each item in a separate tray through the X-ray machine. It took 35 minutes to get through there.
So I was reading about there was an extra long queue that day at the Gardermoen airport. So that was you actually crossing that.
That was me.
Yeah.
And yesterday, when flying home from Pula Airport, and just saying Pula in Norwegian has some strange connotations to it, but we're not going to get into that. But flying out there, it's a really small airport. It's from the architecture. I don't know this for certain, but I would say it was built when the country was Yugoslavia and not Croatia. It's no air condition. There was about 30 drunk British kids there trying to get through airport security. And before they scanned my bag, I was picked out for a so-called random search. And then they scanned my bag. I spent about 25 minutes there as well.
Yeah,
they swiped my entire bag.
Yeah, I met a very annoyed guy at the airport there when I was in Dubrovnik a few years back, and like he basically, I told him like, you want me to unpack my bag before I send it through, and he was really determined I should not have to, and he was so pissed because he had to like dismantle it afterwards and spend time on it. So
actually, the Croatians let me unpack my bag myself.
yeah,
The people in Oslo unpacked it for me, and screwed up my entire system.
I had problems when I flew home from the meeting in Oslo, where the JPC the coil for JPC 350 that I bought there, they wondered what that was.
Yeah,
because
but the airport I actually hasn't had any trouble in was when I flew home from Edinburgh.
Yeah,
that was a really nice airport. The bag just went straight through. They smiled and nodded at me, and everything was fine. I was kind of shocked because I always plan for about half an hour in airport security.
Yeah, the only thing
Go ahead, Kjetil.
The only thing that I got checked on this trip while I was going back, they actually had to open my whiskey bottle, not a bottle, but a box for the whiskey, and swipe it through the bump sweep thingy.
Yeah,
for some reason. Like the only thing that's actually sealed within the airport was the one they had to open.
but I can tell you that my G106 has never been close to any explosives. I've never seen anything being swiped that thoroughly.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Let's sparkle some gunpowder on it the next
that would
time
be
we fly.
so much fun.
And I say that Dan comments, he's been all over the US, Canada, and the UK without issue, except Chicago. I've never tried to bring radio gear into O'Hare, but my experience in immigration and customs at O'Hare tells me that is not the airport to bring radio gear.
I've only been there once, and that was before I got licensed, so I wouldn't know. Yeah. But I think I should share some insights into how to avoid all these issues, because I've flown quite a bit with quite a lot of radio equipment, actually. And I think the reason I'm not getting into as much trouble is that I basically use 5, 6, or 7 trays, and I unpack everything. I will unpack everything until actually on Sardinia, I was told to stop and just keep the rest in my carry-on because he was tired of waiting for me to unpack it. There's a thing there. I read about this some 25, 30 years ago, how police identify drunk drivers. And all they have to do is stand by the side of the road. And the drivers that they need to pull over to check are the ones that just keep staring straight forward and pretending they can't see them. No. I'm not joking. From that point on, whenever there's a police presence, whatever, I will slow down. I'll roll down the window. I'll stick my head out and see if I can get on. And all they do is wave me by. Come on, out of the way. They're really not interested in having anything to do with me when I'm interested in what they are doing. And it's the same thing in the security check. Just pour everything into its own place and show them everything you got in there.
Yep.
And they're not going to be interested at all. It's as simple as that.
Now that you said that, they'll change it.
That's
I don't think a lot of airport security people are watching the European Ham Radio Show.
No,
I think in a couple of years, when they all have the new scanners, it will not be a big deal.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I was so surprised as I told 2 weeks ago. I was so told 2 weeks ago. I was so surprised at Washington Dulles Airport. I expected 1 hour at the airport security, and then it was less than 5 minutes because of the new scanners.
Yeah.
So
that's what I experienced in Edinburgh as well.
So it's fine if they're not testing them. So I went through it when they first got them in Edinburgh, and they were rescanning every single bag. And I was there for ages. I was just like, oh, come on. And I was so happy when I went in, and they were like, oh, you don't have to take anything out, leave all your liquids in, electronics. I was like, oh, amazing.
I'm not going to name any names, but I think one of our regular viewers actually installs some of these machines. So we're not going to get into who that is, but he's usually in the chat. So yeah.
I'm going to add then the next time round it was super fast. FYI.
Yeah.
So, our topic of the week, digimodes, and that's actually kind of fun because this show started on my channel first as Digimode Monday. I used to test out different digimodes every Monday. So
back to the roots.
It's kind of fun to go back to the roots. What I did then is that I picked a digimode. I set it up with not having a single QSO or anything set up. I set it up live on air and tried to have QSOs on the weirdest digimodes with the viewers.
Yeah. Which
actually led me to having had QSOs on a lot of different really weird digimodes that usually people don't use, but I try them. But digimodes scare some people. Some people even think it's the thing that's killing ham radio, a hobby that's built on experimenting and trying out new things. But we're not going to go there, though. But we're going to talk about what you need to get started in digimodes and just the basics of things, because every digimode interface is sort of a variation of the same theme. And I know Charlotte's got to go at some point, so just let us know before you leave.
I've got to go now. I'm so sorry.
You got to go now. Okay, thank you for being on, and congratulations with your ham radio moment of the week, Charlotte.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
So, how about you, William? You suggested a topic. What are the main components you need to get digimodes running?
Well, first off, a radio and a computer.
Yep.
That's the only two things that you need. It doesn't matter if it's like a Raspberry Pi or a £3,000 radio computer hybrid thing. You just need to get your signal from computer to radio, out of your antenna, and wherever it goes to.
Yep.
That's all it is. There's no mystique about it. I think where people fall down is when they're suddenly bombarded with, I want to do digital modes. And then suddenly everybody goes, yeah, do WSJ, do this, do this, do this. And you can just like they're going, what? You know, people are now going, oh yeah, if you want to get on radio, do WSJT, do FT8, do all that. And you're like, what? When I first tried WSJT, I was like, can I have a conversation with these people? No, you can't. It's just the rubber stamp. Hello, it's me. Yeah, here's your signal report. Bye. Next one.
Yeah, just like CW, basically.
Just like Parks on the Air or Summits on the Air.
Yeah. What I was hinting at, though, was you need a way of getting sound from the radio to computer, from the computer to the radio, and a way of actually PDTing, whether that's Vox or cat control.
Yeah, right. First off, like I said last week, about these, about €3 or €4, £3 or £4 or whatever. Oh,
yeah. Everyone's got one of these in some kind of form.
Yeah, these are quite good. This will get you from your PC to your radio. Next up, you need your connection. Like this here is exactly the same as the one I've just shown, but it's hardwired in. This is for the 80897, 857, and 817. So, see, that's all that is. Audio in and out. This is where it goes in the back. And then you go, okay, fine. How do I change frequency? Because you've got your frequency count. How do I get that to change? And then you go, I need a cat cable. And this is where people start to fall down. If they're not computer savvy enough, they don't know how to work it. So that's why when you go to a club and things like that, it's always important to ask the questions. How do I get it set up? How do I do things? And that is where you start to learn. You don't.
Yep.
Everything's can you hammer it. Mostly age. Yeah, I agree. So it's when people turn around and say, I will turn around and I will say, yeah, get this. Things like this. These.
Yep.
When you're more proficient, come on to things like a signal link or a digirig. Because once you've learned that, you've learned how the basics of digital radio, and then you go on to this. And then you learn how to use this, because inside here, you've got jumper leads and little things to play about with. Now you're learning where things are with things like this. It's got delay, how much signal, how much loudness, how much of the transmit and the receive, the sensitivity and the delay and things like that. And these are quite good. You know, the
signal links are good. Signal links uses Vox into the signal link, or it triggers from audio in, doesn't it? It triggers VTT from audio in.
Yeah, it goes from USB.
There's not actually cat control from the computer through a signal link.
Cat control. You need a cat control cable if you've got. If you need to have cat control, it will be in your radio, so you need the USB cable for that. This is also USB, because the older ones, you had to buy the board inside for your radio. So if you've got 3 or 4 radios, you have to buy 3 or 4 boards. Whereas now you've got a jumper set. So you just look it up online on their website. They list every single jumper set for every type of radio, and then you just add it to that and off it goes. So you no longer got one working for Ellicraft or ICOM or whatever. It's just the jumpers in this now, and that's all you need.
And the signal link is an easy way to get it started. I think we got to mention though that a lot of newer rigs have built-in sound cards. All you need is the USB cable from the radio to the computer. Except for the 891.
That's strictly not a newer radio, though, is it?
No,
but it's newer-ish.
Yeah.
It has a USB cable, but it doesn't do audio. So that's kind of annoying.
And I usually, when people ask, I recommend a digirig. This is a tiny. Let's see if I can. This is compared to a sticker. Not that gives any size impressions, but let's do it. This is something that people actually have seen. This is an SD card.
Yeah, it's tiny.
It's tiny. It's so tiny. And this has USB in on one end, and it has 2 ports here. One labeled audio, and the other labeled serial. And then you buy cables for your radio or build cables.
Yeah.
And that this is also dependent on radio, but there's a couple of solder bridges you either connect or remove inside it depending on your radio type.
Yeah, it's important.
That's mostly for the cat control or the serial connection. If you only
that's for only going to use audio.
You don't need to mess with the solder blobs.
Yeah, this shows up as a serial port and as a sound card in your computer. And if you have a Zygo radio like the G90 or the G106, you have the DE19, which is basically exactly the same thing. It's only worse build quality and significantly larger. But these two things are exactly the same. If I knew how big and poor this thing is, I mean, technically it works. It works really well, but it's about a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, and if you go for a Zygo radio, this is the older version, the CE19, with a fancy 3D printed box on it. Yeah. But don't go for that one. Go for the modern DE19 one. Because
the CE19 does not have a sound card and requires several cables, both to the computer and to the radio.
Yeah,
What's
it has a
price for the DE19?
60, 70 euros or something.
Okay.
I think so. But what I do now, knowing what this thing is, I just buy another digirig or just a Zygo cable for the digirig.
I would say then spend a little bit more money and buy the digirig.
Yeah, digirig is about $100, and then get some Zygo cables for it.
Yeah, and just to say, Like this is the cable rig for the DE19, so it's also a rat's nest, but not as much as the CE19.
No, and you could actually get some heat shrink and just shrink it down to one cable. With whatever you'd need.
Yep.
Yeah,
so there's some options.
When you get the cables.
Before we continue, if I can just share something, because I think we're no, that's not it. The DigiRig is absolutely not $100. It's $50.
Oh, that's right.
Okay,
Really?
then there's absolutely no reason.
Yep.
And this thing, I got sponsored with the DE19, but nonetheless, though, there's no reason to get the DE19 over the DigiRig.
No.
Just so it's said.
It's without the cables.
It's without the cables. So
when I bought this, it was around, I don't know, $100 or so with cables.
Yeah.
Let's see, if you want the cable for the D90, that's another 30. And you can get away with just one of these if you don't want or need cat control, or if you're willing and able to do the tuning yourself. You can get away with just one of these cables, and then I think you'd end up around 20. So
and it's also I got a Baofeng cable for the DigiRig, which is really nice.
It's also worth noting that you can buy DigiRig through other vendors. I'm not sure if there are fakes of that. I would guess it is, but they have links also to, I think, in the Amazon store. Because if you send it, buy it from the original website, they send it via an ox cart through California. So it takes about 3 weeks to go through the US before it reaches you. So even though they ship it quickly, they send it by the slowest possible way. I think it was either carrier pigeon or something else that they used.
I see that Lee comments, if you're in the US, you should buy direct from DigiRig. And that's probably true. If you are outside the Europe or outside the US, especially in Europe, I'd say that Amazon with its quick shipping is probably the best case. I got mine in less than a week from Amazon US.
Yeah, it took me over a month to get it, I think.
Yeah, and I see that it even takes about 40 days.
Yeah.
I can't really remember, but anything that goes out of the US with the USPS, that is just ridiculously slow. So probably true.
It takes a boat 8 days to go across the Atlantic, and that's no excuse.
But it's not the part across the Atlantic that's the problem with the United States Postal Service. It's reaching the point where it goes across the Atlantic.
It took less than 2 days from it came to California to it was here. It took over 3 weeks to get to California.
Yeah.
But that's kind of off topic for digital.
That is off topic. But it's still an interesting discussion. But we'll get back to topic.
It probably went over the North Pole and ended up in Canada or something like that.
Yeah, went long path.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, as William has been showing us here, you don't have to spend close to $100 to do digital modes.
No.
The things that we spoke about that you can build, I have something to show as well, and see if I can do that without it all turning transparent. This is a Raspberry Pi with a perf board. Oh, this was difficult to hold. Let's see if I can manage.
And if anyone's wondering, Bob's got a green screen and green PCBs.
Yeah, but they're not transparent. Amazingly enough.
Let's see if I can embiggen you. Since Tobias isn't on today, I've forgotten that we have an embiggen button.
Yeah, that's. I think that sound card is like William said. It's $1 or $2 on AliExpress or eBay. And there's connectors and there's a few capacitors, a few trimmer potentiometers. I put that just for level adjustment. And there's also, let's see if I can point to it. There's one transistor for PTT switching. So if you like this was difficult. If you like doing electronics, it's not really difficult to build your own, and it's not going to even cost you $10 in parts. So
no.
It does not have to be expensive to do digital modes.
Exactly, and I think Øystein, and I can't remember his call sign now. LB8.
India Juliet.
Thank you. He's got a video on making a really cheap sound interface for the 891 using one of those sound cards.
He actually uses additionally, I think he uses a hub.
Yeah, he uses a USB hub, so you only have one cable, but he's got a 3D printed case and it looks professional, like a digirig.
Yeah. That thing looks really, really sweet. So,
yeah, I see that Dave B. You had him on. On the channel as well.
Find it.
Yeah, so he mentioned you can do a lot of this without any of these fancy interfaces. And yes, I remember I had an experiment, I think a year ago, when I did that with a Kenwood TS480 set. And basically I just had sound output and input, but you have to then make sure you don't blow the input level and so on. So you have to have some sort of protection there, or do it rather carefully, and then just use Vox to trigger it. Like you can also just make a cable that plugs into the RJ45 microphone jack on many radios. Like there you have actually microphone in and audio out. But you have to be sure that you don't overdrive them, so you don't destroy them.
And that is a subject for a whole different show when we get to that point.
Let me just plug one more thing here. This that's awful. Yeah, that shows. This is an app on my iPhone. It's called IFTX. This will do acoustically coupled digital modes. I've activated summits and horrible band days where I wasn't able to finish an activation on a summit. I'm holding the microphone of the 705 next to the phone, completing FT8 QSOs with the IFTX app on the iPhone. Absolutely no cables at all, no Bluetooth, no nothing. So it's not ideal. It's to be honest, it's a bloody nightmare to do it with wind noise and whatnot, but it's possible. You can actually do acoustically coupled digital modes as well.
If you look up
exactly, and
if you look up Wolfie Link, he does like PSK, RTTY, even WeatherFax for the Android phones. I bought a couple of his, and it's like the WeFax and the PSK and all that. Even sells like the Wolfie, like what Bob just shown. It's similar to that. He made one of those. He was selling them for years ago, but he also, the in-out was only one plug, so the audio in and out, it was a three-way phone connector. So like you have on your mobile phones, you've got like a 3-pin plug. Right, he was selling that so that you could get all that in, and you just plug it into your mobile phone. This was about 5-6 years ago, and you just set up your computer, your radio, and it all goes in. So that was it. So, what Bob's built is what he built 5-6 years back and selling. But he's got some really good programs for Android, which will work, like PSK31, even the WeFax. You can send and receive. You can receive fax and stuff like that. So even 450 boards. So the DDK9 that sends out the weather on 10, 100, on 30 meters. On the RTTY, you can actually put that in, and you can actually decode the weather information on your phone through that link that he put on. So he did quite a lot of stuff. I don't know if he's still active now, but that was one of the things. It's only small, about the size of a digirig, and it worked. So there are programs out there. There are applications out there for that. So we know one or two like HAM-RS and things like that. But Wolfie Link did PSK3163, radio teletype, WeFax, things like that. He was doing other things, but they're still in use. I've still got them on this tablet here, and they just plug it in, off it goes, done, fine. So they were about £2 or £3 or £4, €4 per program. So there are a few.
There are more expensive things in ham radio than that.
Yeah.
I say that see that our Irish friend here would like to try RIDI QSOs, and RIDI is, I'm not sure if you can hook a keyboard straight up to the KX2, but I'd actually recommend you using something like FL Digi to do that. I
FLD
tried.
work.
Yeah, I tried on the 6100. I actually had a stream about that a couple of years back, where me and Steve temporarily offline tried to. I think you were on as well, Shetit, were you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
And
where we tried to actually figure out if you could do RIDI with a keyboard on the 6100, and figured you could only do pre-programmed messages.
yeah, it's kind of hard, but you can also, if you remember, I had that nice little Chinese box you could plug into a Kenwood TS480 set that let you do CW with a keyboard.
Yeah,
And decode it afterwards. So that's also another DJ thing.
I have been looking for that box since you showed it off. I can't find it anywhere.
No, it's not sold anymore. But that was primarily bought to do RIDI. Like that's the primary use of it. So so that was really cool. Small, little, simple board that somebody had made that basically was a screen and a RIDI encoder and decoder for Kenwood radios.
If you have an ICOM 7300, you can actually plug a USB keyboard straight into the radio and do RIDI from the radio.
Yeah, I've mostly used it with, or mostly used RIDI in N1MM with MMTTY setup.
Yeah,
that's like really well set up for contest usage, not for general chatting usage, I think. But
and I see Stan Whiskey One Boy comments here. He enjoys RIDI contesting with N1MM, but the setup was a bit of a nightmare. Everything in N1MM is a nightmare.
No, it's easy to set up when you know how to do it.
Yeah, but I
rocket science is easy too when you know how to do it.
Yeah, I agree that setup requires that you actually know what to do and so on. But it's not that horrible. But it is the first time you do it. It's not something you do as the first on the first day as a ham radio operator.
Yep.
No, you have to put yourself into it.
Excuse me. Sorry, what? I didn't get everything there, William.
Right. Like what Yetel just said, you don't start off straight away. You ease yourself in.
Yeah.
You scan around. If you're doing digital modes, you see where things are, see how things go, as well as go to a club and say, how do I work this? Could you tell me about it? Blah, blah, blah. That's the whole point. You can buy the biggest, loudest, most expensive radio, but do you know how to work it? Do you know where you plug in to do digital? That is the thing. So getting things like that and then going, well, I don't know what to do. That it can be the downfall of people who want to do digital. So
absolutely. And I just helped a local ham a couple of weeks back with he wanted to do FD8, and it is hard when you misjudge how computer literate people are. I managed to get he bought a Digrig and managed to get that set up for him and everything, and then he had a Yaesu FD2000, and that radio was a nightmare to set up. It had the really user friendly Yaesu menus. Once I figured out which cryptic letter and number combination was actually switching the audio input from the microphone to the port in the back, it was pretty easy. But that took about a week.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're setting up, like, just to set up FLDG on your computer, using Windows, fine, let it run. Find your COM port, put in your cosine, your Maidenhead locator, things like that, and you're up and running. Come to Linux. Do you use sudo apt-get install or git clone, and then do you go and do it the long way by going, turn this into an application, run the application, and then it goes, I got errors, and now you're going, what errors? And you're going through all of that, and it's like, and then it'll go, right, sudo apt installing, and then you go, problem. something tree.h, and I've had all these problems myself, and I'm like, where do I find tree.h, FL tree.h, get all that, and then I'll just go, oh, sod it, I'll just go to the repository and bugger it, just download there. It might be the wrong version. It's there. At least it will do that, and then you upgrade. And so Windows, great. You just put it on and goes, do you want to find a COM port? Yeah, right. You go to manage it. There you go.
But it's not. But if you don't have a concept of COM ports, even that thing can be hard. Or if you don't understand that you have multiple sound cards, that can also be a challenge. So I'm just going to put this out there, and I know it's probably not going to be popular, but you do need to be a little bit computer literate in order to use digital modes. At least if you want to successfully do it several times.
Yeah,
actually, I think you have to be a little bit computer literate to set it up. If you have someone help you set it up for you and just explain these simple steps, then anyone can do FT8.
Yeah,
except to the point where suddenly PTT doesn't work, or WSJT has changed your sound card, or stuff like that.
Yeah, if you're not computer savvy, you need a dedicated computer. You can't mess around with that computer and use it for other things. You need a dedicated computer for digital mode.
Like you want to save space on your hard drive, so you delete System 32. And you wonder why. I've known people that have done that. Windows XP. Oh, there's great big file. Windows System 32. I'll delete all of that, and then they wonder why it's not working. When you turn it
and I gotta give a plug out to Flex Radio, because there is some guy that has written a third-party application for Flex Radio. I'm going to see if I can share the window here. Which is called Slice Master. And let's see if I can find it here. And there are probably applications like this for other radios as well. But what Slice Master does is that once you have the application installed, you can click any of these buttons and it'll start it up, set up for the radio with the correct sound card, with the correct COM port, and all the settings set.
That's quite good.
And actually setting up the software in Flex is a nightmare, because some things are done over network, other things are done through virtual COM ports or virtual sound cards. So if I install some kind of digital software, it'll pop up here, and I can just click it here, and it'll start set up with the right settings. And I wish more radio manufacturers would have software like this.
But you may pay a bit more for that radio than you do, for example, for Zygo. So they don't have the development budget.
It is not a cheap radio.
Yeah, I like how WSJT, JS8 call, FLDG, because though apart from WSJT, JS8 call and FLDG allows you to communicate and explore, different ways of communication. So like FLDG, you've got FSQ, Contestia, what's the other one? MFSK32, even do weather facts, which I've never seen anyone do. So, I've never received or transmitted a fax. That used to be prevalent years and years and years ago. No one does it anymore, but it's still there. Things like that. That's what I think when people start to look into digimodes, you've got all these really obscure ones that not many people do now because they've all gone to FT8. But there is a guy in Germany who only does Contestia, and he's keeping that going. And he's about 70 odd. But, good luck to him. He's doing that. That's a good thing. I mean, even people will say, "Oh, what's slow scan TV?" Like what I mentioned a few weeks back when we had the person who does the like all that packaging for the digital modes and things like that. I forget who he was, and I said mention DRM, What basically DRM is SSTV for digital radio, not like digital as in DMR. It's I suppose you've seen Ringway Manchester where he shows these images of on the waterfall, like the face of Guy Fawkes. That's video through DRM, and it will come up on the waterfall like that. DRM, all it does is set up your computer as an FTP, and you transmit DRM, and all it does, it goes the DRM when they come and send their image to you. They're not sending the image; they're sending the file allocation to their FTP, and that's all it is.
So, and I see that we're getting close to the hour mark. I'm just going to share something here. These streams go past way too fast. But if you want to learn about the relative obscure digimodes, let's see if we can embiggen the text here a little bit. Because I got a whole video series of Digimode Monday where I tried. I think I actually ran out of digimodes to try at one point. So you can actually go through here and figure out a little bit how to get started on different digimodes.
I'm still waiting for the one where you do the like your first CW QSO.
That is because Digimode Monday evolved into LB0 FI Live, I think I called it for a while, and then it evolved to me, Chetan and Bob just doing tangents, and that evolved into the European Digimode Net, which evolved into the European Ham Radio Show, and here we are 101 episodes later.
Yep.
Yeah, if you can find it. As it could be, if this room was actually a room, could you find it? 1984.
I'm going to say one thing more though. If you want to try the obscure digimodes, head on over to our Discord.
Yeah.
Find someone to have a QSO. Do a sked. Like me and Sieta did when we tried JT65. I actually managed to brew a pot of coffee during our single QSO with JT65 because that thing is slow.
Yeah, that was in Parks on there, and I think both of us got one random dude from England.
From Scotland, I think it was a Scottish station.
We
started calling, and suddenly another station popped up on JT65. And that's the thing, though. If you start calling, people will jump on.
Yeah. But that's like a 4-minute QSOs or something. It's so slow.
Yeah, I think it's 90 seconds per sequence there or something. It's extremely slow. I can also recommend the SSTV episode of Digimode Monday, where someone sends a picture with "Mom, I'm on TV."
Oh yeah, hi Mom. My mother's watching at her house. Hiya. I forgot.
We'll be back next week. I have no idea. The week will probably tell us what we're going to talk about next week. We need to actually probably have some more editorial meetings, but that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah. We need to. We'll find something.
Send something to a printer via radio. I think that's called teletype.
Yeah.
or IP over AX25, maybe. That's Yep.
So it should be possible. Not sure. Not sure
practical.
If it's practical, but it's possible. Or you could get one of those old radio teletype machines that actually prints out instead of showing it on the screen.
Hang on, as ham licensed hams, we have privileges in the 2.4 gigahertz band, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
So you can just use Wi-Fi.
Doesn't overlap with the Wi-Fi.
It's not the Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz band, no.
There's no overlap there.
No.
Somebody found that they would.
You could use Arden. You could set up an Arden network to your printer and just set up 2 Arden nodes in your house and send it to your printer over IP. That is possible.
Yep.
I would recommend a Nike net. I don't know if that is a familiar term for anyone else, but I would recommend a Nike net over that. So,
There is one thing that you could try. That is, you could buy a Hellschreiber printer or Feldhaus. Have you seen those? They're
Yeah.
massive.
Oh yeah,
You know-
but they're epic.
What's that Norwegian YouTuber that does German World War II radios? What's his call sign? Helge Fixe. He has a lot of videos, and I think he has a Feldheld machine in one of his videos on German World War II
Yeah,
radios.
Lima
You
Alpha
know
6
that we
November.
Do that. Imagine doing that. You know, like, hey, honey, look what I've bought. A load of junk.
I just posted a link to his homepage in the chat. So Lima Alpha 6 November Charlie Alpha. So he does some really, really cool videos about World War II gear and other old radio gear. And he also builds some stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, he's got a Matchbox transceiver that is actually a Matchbox.
Yep.
Okay.
And when I met him at the Norwegian ham meeting, he talked about building a transceiver into a chapstick.
Yeah, that's a very cool channel.
No comments. No comments.
So
is he the guy who was in Gardermoen at the ham?
Yes,
he's the guy.
Yeah. Great stuff.
So he's got a lot of cool videos, and they're all subtitled or dubbed into English. So it should be very understandable. And he's probably the biggest Norwegian ham radio YouTuber, I think.
I think so. Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's because he's got such a narrow material base.
Yeah, he's been at it for a long time as well, I think. So
Yeah.
Stands the reason.
Yep. Anyhow, see you guys next week. Thank you for being on, William.
No worries.
And we'll see you guys next week and down the bands if the bands open up. 730.
Hopefully.
Seven.
Bye. 7.
Bye.